Brands will need to really rethink about how they want to deal with customers.
Use technology to deliver as enjoyable a customer experience as possible.
Hello everyone, we are back with another episode of the new Marketing Playbook series. Today we are exploring how marketing and technology is redefining leadership and customer engagement. Joining us today are two incredible leaders. One is Mr. Himanshu Mody, who is a partner and head of DEPT India. And along with him, we also have Mr. Rathin, Lahiri, who is head of marketing and CSR at SBI General Insurance. Thank you so much for taking out time for this conversation today. So, without wasting much of a time, I think we should begin this conversation. So, I believe that in today's world, marketing and technology are inseparable, and especially in the industry, like insurance, where you say that customer trust and convenience are, the factors that define success. Success metric is completely, what customers say and their trust factors in that. So, and I also believe that, in convergence is shaping how organizations basically operate and how leaders connect to, customers. So, based on this itself, Mr. Rathin, I have a question for you that, from your perspective, how is this marketing tech convergence, influencing leadership, particular roles in CMOs or like CTOs at SBI General Insurance, and how is it, helping you serve customers more effectively? What is your take on that?
Yeah. So fundamentally, marketing is about understanding who your customer is and then tailoring your product to best suit the customer's needs. If you take a market like India, I think a few things have happened in the last 10 years. One, I think, is that, there is massive prosperity which has happened, right? As a result, what has happened is I think there are multiple customer segments which have emerged. So in a market like India, you have very well-traveled people who are equal to HNIs, in any part of the world. So that's one. Second, I think India is one of the most young countries in the world.
Sure.
The median age of India is 28, 29. Yeah. Right? That's a very, very young country. Anybody who's 35 is actually an old guy in the context of the average Indian. What it means is when a person is 28, 29, he's actually in a very interesting phase of his life. He's typically looking to get married. He's in an asset acquisition phase. Sure. He's buying a car, he's buying a house, he's buying a bunch of things. So that again makes it very interesting from a marketing point of view. Third is if you take our category, which is general insurance itself. Now, what is general insurance? Anything other than life insurance is general insurance. So which has a lot of very fascinating kind of product categories within it. So you have health insurance, you have motor insurance, you have travel insurance, you have property insurance, you have personal accident insurance, you have cyber insurance. So you have a bunch of product categories which have evolved to take the customer and protect the customer through this phase. Sure. Now, the other thing which has happened is that India today is, I think, one of the most digitized countries that there is. Now, with the, Aadhaar, UPI, payment stack, with digital KYC being possible, it is very, very easy to onboard customers literally in minutes and hours. What would typically, take 2-3 days, 4 days, where somebody would have to give a picture, sure, give a photocopy of an ID, all that has become very, very instant.
Sure.
Payments have become instant,
Yeah.
All of this digital infrastructure which has got created and which people have adopted en masse, right, has ensured that you have a customer who's very ready and receptive for a lot of products in our category. I think the opportunity for us in this category is essentially to understand what are the customer needs for each of these segments. So the challenge is, like I said, to have different products, affordable products delivered digitally and ensure that the customer experience at all levels of customer segments, is the best that the customer can possibly get. So that is the, opportunity and the challenge both.
Understood. So, you just mentioned about how everything is working in SBI General Insurance. Himanshu, I would like to ask you that, DEPT's integrated model actually combines marketing, design and tech all together. So, how does that setup helps both global and, say local brands innovate faster and adapt their strategies to unique opportunities that challenge, the Indian market? Because I say think Indian market is really different if we compare it to the global market. Here needs are very different, and say the way technology is emerging here is also very fast paced if we compare it to the other side of the world. So I would like to know that.
Yeah, so taking in from Rathin's comment, right, that most essential thing of this is in marketing, understanding your customer is the most important thing. So everything starts from there. And in India, there are, in terms of stakeholders, there are insurance providers who provide the insurance, there are the people who buy the insurance, and there are regulatory bodies who define what is allowed, what is not allowed, kind of thing. So all three needs to work in tandem. And someone like us plays an important role, brings in the creative part, brings in the tech part, brings in the mechanisms where the brand can really go to customer with confidence, with agility. If some compliance rule changes, they are able to quickly make changes to their website so that, journeys stay compliant as well. Essentially, what is important is, how can we help brands? We have worked with almost 9 insurance companies in India. We've helped them build their digital experiences. Traditionally, if you see, most insurance businesses were agency-led model or, offline model or, people-assisted model, distribution-led model. But COVID changed, their perspective in a big way. When COVID happened, all brands were forced to look at how can we make the thing digital end-to-end in an accelerated manner. And even customers, for that matter, accepted the fact that, I cannot now wait for someone to come and meet me to make my insurance choices. I need to go online and figure out a way to buy it myself, right? So that really added as a fuel, and that's where a lot of brands started offering end-to-end products where, the journey is online for your insurance. A partner like us plays an important role where we understand the customers that are being targeted. We understand, like you said, there are so many segments, right? Of customers who present out there. Some products are suitable for some customers, some products are suitable for some customers. So tech allows you to do personalization, A/B testing, targeting, and take your message in a personalized manner to the customer. So this is what has been essentially important for us, to build a platform which helps brands to deliver their digital experiences in a personalized manner, provide an end-to-end solution where right from engagement, grievance redressal to the post-sales support that a customer would need, how much of it can happen online and minimize their need to go to a call center or go to a branch and things like that. So things have really evolved now.
Yeah. That's so true that, technology has evolved, and I believe that is playing a very integral role how customers are also thinking.
Yeah.
As technology is changing, how customers discover, buy, and, whole of their experience in insurance in particular, has changed, like from proactive engagement to real-time service delivery. That is quite a shift, I would say. So based on this itself, Rathin, how SBI General Insurance using technology to reimagine the customer's journey from acquisition to and till claims, I would ask. And what areas are you, seeing this most transforming? What all are those areas?
Yeah. So our approach is to be where the customer is, and therefore we have a omni-channel approach. That we don't care whether it's offline, online, part digital, 100% digital. Whatever the customer wants and where we can kind of serve the needs of the customer, we want to be present there. Therefore, our distribution itself is very, very widespread. It cuts across channel partners like banks, could be from foreign banks to very large private sector banks to SBI, which has some 22,000 branches and has the deepest possible roots in India, to purely digital partners like a PhonePe, Policy Bazaar, where we have to kind of have real-time kind of API integrations with those partners, to our own website and app. So the first part is that we want to be present and be able to provide a seamless customer experience to all of these customer segments. The way we look at it is, one part is acquisition, the second part is the whole purchase experience, the third part is the claims experience, and the fourth and a very, very important part, especially in a product category like general insurance, is actually renewals. You have to understand that this is a very long-term product that we are selling, and we are trying to build a very long-term relationship with the customer.
Sure.
And one of the things that we kind of really encourage and is very important even from the customer's point of view, is that let's say a customer comes in when he's 30, 32 years old. He has a certain income level, his family size is at a certain level, and he takes a health insurance of, let's say, X value. But 5 years later, 10 years later, the way medical inflation is rising up, his family members increase, his parents get older, the cover that he's taken 10 years back is no longer relevant. Right? And therefore you have to do product innovations to ensure that, you are able to kind of provide the customer options so that he can kind of naturally kind of upscale his product. So I'll give you a very simple example. One of the things that we want to encourage is good health.
Yeah.
So once the customer kind of gets onboarded, we encourage him to kind of download our app, because we want him to, and we use the app to educate the customer of all the product features, even once he's kind of done his purchase, so that he knows that all these features are actually available. The claims process for health and motor insurance can be fully completed on the app. You can kind of submit your documents, get your claims passed, processed, know exact status of where you are on the claims process, and get that fulfillment done. So for that, you don't have to rely, with a call center or calling up somebody. You real time see, how the process itself has been moving. The next thing, for example, on the app, one of the features which we've just kind of launched is a health feature. So you can actually do health and iris scan and get a full update of, how your vitals are on the app, because we want to encourage customers to essentially take care of themselves and recognize the early warning signs, rather than when there's a big issue and you land up at the hospital or the doctor. So these are very small things which we are kind of relying on to actually improve the customer experience. So like I said, even once the sale is done, that's when actually the whole relationship process begins, because that's when we want to kind of do a bunch of feature-led education to get the customer more involved in the product as to what exactly is he bought and what the features are. The claims process, like I said, is enabled again on our app. And also things like, actually actively taking care of your health, because ideally we don't want him to use the product. The better the quality of the life, the better it is for the customer and for us both. These are kind of some of the things that we are looking at. The other last point I would say is that one part is the customer-led part, which is via the app, let's say. The other part, because we have a very large B2, and it's a B2B2C business, is we have a intermediary app which actually helps the agent also, know all the features of the product. If a customer is looking at a certain ticket size, has certain specifications, it actually recommends alternate products. We are just, in fact, as we speak, launch a chatbot feature in that B2B app. We call it Simba, where where the agent also can ask basic questions saying, will it cover post-hospital expenses? What is the amount of no-claim bonus on it? Is there something called a restore benefit? What are the critical illnesses which are covered by it? Because, different products may have different features, and the agent may also not be aware. So we've started building all of this to also educate the agent so that he's able to sell the right product on to the customer.
Nice. All right, Rathin. So basically, these are all the new things which are coming up. How basically SBI is working on new areas. What is helping customers in particular? Good to hear that. Himanshu, from your perspective, I want to understand now that how can basically technology turn traditionally reactive industries, especially like insurance, into a proactive, always-on experiences that anticipate customers' need? Because that's also, I believe, a need of an hour where customers also, we want to trace out what are the things which customers are needing, and then figuring out the solutions.
So one of the core things in insurance, what makes it traditionally reactive is because it is a regulated industry. Something changes by the regulator, you have to immediately comply, you have to immediately do it, right? So traditional or not, it will continue to be a reactive kind of situation because there's a regulator that is involved. And that is what we learned very early when we started working with different insurance companies, that they look for a platform which allows them to stay compliant, that allows them to be consistent at scale. Now, you're talking it for a country like India, where it's, the scale is massive, the amount of understanding of products and things like that needs to be relayed to so many different type of audiences. And if something changes, then how do you do it in a consistent way that it changes across all your platforms, right? All your pages, all your communication and things like that. So as a service provider, what we understand is that, insurance, one of the key thing is that ability to turn around compliant content at a scale. So that is something that we have helped insurance companies to do for years together now, and for some of the biggest brands in India. So there is this whole platform first that is needed, which is reliable. In our case, we have been partners with Adobe for 18 years. So all the solutions that we have built for our insurance customers are built on top of the Adobe platform. And where it helps is that, it's a proven platform, it's enterprise grade, it has been used by some of the biggest BFSI brands. What it ensures is whatever built on top of it. For example, something changes in the data protection policy in India, right? Imagine the amount of things that you'll have to do to ensure that your platform is compliant. But in case of Adobe, you don't have to worry about it, right? Anywhere in the world, anything changes from data compliance point of view, they ensure that their data, for example, something happens in US, something happens in Thailand, something happens in Europe, their platform is always compliant. So brands really can focus only on the customer and don't have to worry about other things which will otherwise, slow you down and not allow you to launch your product or not allow you to make changes and be compliant at the speed at which you need to be, right? And it has all the bells and whistles of governance, workflows. Insurance companies typically have various teams, product teams, marketing teams and things like that. And then everyone wants to be part of defining the whole experience thing. So the whole publishing workflow allows them to participate. So what goes online is compliant and is approved and things like that. To ensure that, brands can be especially in insurance, reaction is required as a outcome.
Sure.
And the platform allows them to do that.
Understood. So, as whatever I'm getting from this conversation and from your replies in particular is that, technology is surely very important when it comes to developing anything to the next scale. Technology opens new possibilities for, say, personalization and efficiency. But I believe trust remains, really important. It's the base foundation. It goes with everything. And so happens in insurance as well. So, Himanshu, how do you basically help insurers to innovate responsibly, ensuring that digital transformation strengthens customer trust and, it's not going to be a disruption?
So see, trust is a very huge thing, and in any financial services product, it is at the center of everything, right?
Yeah.
For any services that you are promising, it's a brand promise that brands need to keep, right? Once customers start believing in brand, right, the technology that they experience from a brand is the moment of truth where rubber meets the road, that, can I trust the brand? Can I really work with them, do with them, right? So, for example, even if a small glitch in the tech, right? For example, if the page takes few microseconds extra to load, is erosion of trust in some manner, right? So it's very, very important that with all the brands' trust that is already accumulated, that it's a trustworthy brand, when the moment of truth happens, when different touch points where digital is one of them, right? The experience is smooth, the experience is consistent, the experience is scalable. And a lot of times what happens, for example, during COVID, right? There was this whole moratorium calculator. No one had heard even the word of moratorium till then, right? And everyone was frenzy about going and finding out, am I eligible? What is the moratorium exception that I would get for my financial commitments and things like that, right? So we were one of the first to come up with the moratorium calculator for one of the brands, and the amount of traffic they got was shot up in a huge way during COVID. But if your underlying infra is not supportive of that agility, of that scale, then you miss those moments where your ability to turn around an opportunity. Say there is a change in regulation, right? Say there is change, for example, the recent change of no GST on insurance products. Now, how quickly as a brand is your platform able to, implement that end to end so that there are no hiccups around it, right? How quickly you are able to leverage communicating what it means for the customer, communicating what it means for your other partners, omni-channel partners and all of that. The moment there is change in the market, people are going to look for clarity. And if your brand becomes that source that, whenever something changes, this is where I quickly get information from what it means for me, right? So then that means something. And
that builds trust.
That means trust, right? So this is how you translate the trust that you've already built over the years. Digital allows you to reinforce it. And also, if you don't do it well, it erodes trust.
Yeah. That's also important. So Rathin, how do you basically balance innovation like automation, data, or say AI with the need of human connections?
So again, I think in this category, because it's a long-term product that you're buying, you're taking a health insurance and you hope you will not use it. And in most cases, you may use it only after 10 years, 15 years or so on, right? And you're just buying the promise that whenever you've fallen ill, that, guess what, this email soft copy will deliver you a hospital and take care of your operation costs and XYZ, right? So the core kind of benefit or the thing that the customer is looking for is trust. If you combine that with what I said earlier, which is that the median age is 28, 29 years old, right? Yeah. So it's a very impatient audience, right?
True.
And now with social and the fact that everybody's watching, 150, 200 reels a day, attention spans have shrunk.
A lot, yeah.
Right. So you have a customer who's very young and he wants everything like instantly, right? So all of that actually puts a lot of pressure on companies who are operating at very, very high scale to deliver a seamless standard experience. So for example, at SBI General, we serve over 4 crore customers a year.
Oh, nice.
So that's a massive number of customers, right? And you have to get it right for all of them. Our customer communication goes out in 16 languages because we are dealing with, customers from all across India.
Yeah.
And a lot of customers are actually even today just more comfortable in their natural language. And imagine taking a product as technical as insurance and kind of, translating them in these multiple languages and, being able to communicate the features, benefits, what, the person is eligible for, what he's not eligible for in 16 odd languages. And then making changes if you have to. One change also has to kind of get replicated across all these languages. So it's kind of massively challenging, like I said, at the same time. And also the fact that, like I said, we are omni-channel. So we are serving via agents, you're serving via online platforms, you're serving via partners like banks, and you're serving, customers directly. What the customer fundamentally is buying is SBI General's product and trust. But the delivery, again, is via various intermediaries.
Yeah.
Or even if he's doing it himself, he may not be aware of, all the features that he's buying from the product, right? So it's a very kind of complex task. The way we have kind of looked at it is, how can we kind of deliver a smooth customer experience by plotting various customer journeys and ensuring that, we track what is the success rate, failure rate across each of these journeys. So we actually implement NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score tracker, extremely, we take it very, very seriously. And that kind of gets discussed at the CEO level with the business heads on all monthly meetings. And we review it literally like twice a week. And that actually gives us, real-time kind of feedback as to how each of these journeys have performed, whether the customer renewal is going through, whether the customer service is going through, whether customer acquisition and the onboarding is going through, whether and how that rates across each of the businesses for motor insurance, for health insurance, for even corporate customers and so on.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of pilots and all which are being done, but I think there is a lot of groundwork to be done on even basic CRM, improving the customer experience before kind of getting into AI, because I think there are a lot of opportunities to fix the basics on just using CRM to deliver the right customer experience before you get into customization or personalization, which is what kind of AI would do.
Yeah, so one of the important things to understand is while AI as a word has become popular recently, it is not that brands have not been using AI since, right? So, for example, when we do personalization for customers, or when we do A/B testing for customers, right? Like I said, we mentioned we use Adobe platform, so it has an underlying AI called Sensei. It understands the data and makes decisions that, for example, version A is working better than version B, and then auto promotes version B and keeps studying it. And if the pattern changes, then again switches to version A. So technology has been there. For example, we all have been using Netflix and things like that since so many years, right? And if you see people who saw this also saw this, recommended for you. They're all algorithms which study data and are coming up with it, right? So both as customers and as brands, AI has been part of us since a long time. Now, what is happening right now as in point of evolution is the multiplying factor of generative AI and LLMs that have come in the space, and even more broader, the next one would be agentic AI, right?
Yeah.
So this is where brands will need to really rethink about how they want to deal with customers, and there's a huge opportunity, right? I mean, in terms of marketing, the content, as of now, the agency model where few designers, you have a relationship, you get few design options and they go online, and then you make changes, you personalize it a bit, either through tech or, it goes as a PDF to this thing, depending on where you are in your evolution. But now look at the speed at which content is getting created. Look at the volume at which the content is getting created. So as a brand, your mindset needs to shift from content creation to content supply chain.
Yeah.
So you have massive amount of content creation ability with generative AI. You need workflows according to that, and especially in a regulatory industry, right? So that AI will play a huge role. For example, using generative AI, if you have created, Adobe has something called as Firefly services, which allows a brand compliant generation of images. But on top of that, you can, with a partner like us, you can add a layer of benchmarking or checking that are your brand rules getting met?
Yeah.
Are they compliant according to the compliance that is required? So AI will play a significant role in bringing that content supply chain kind of perspective from a content point of view. So that's generative AI. LLM models, both there are public models that are available, brands will develop their own models. And I strongly believe that the race is how quickly a brand can reach to 1:1 LLM with a customer.
Sure.
When I converse something with a brand, we have reached a point where there are chatbots, but there are standard answers and a standard this thing, right? Yeah. There is no context of who am I right now over there. But I think with sooner or later, enough data would be there, or enough LLMs would be there, that once a brand has enough information about me, the replies would be far more contextual and far more relevant to me, right? So that 1:1 kind of conversation.
So I understood that how much of new innovation is really coming up, but I believe that innovation is not much of a use if it's not giving us desired outcomes, and it goes both from in business perspective also and in customers too. So Rathin, when you invest in digital or say in tech-led initiatives, what do you look for, and how do you basically measure if they're truly driving business impact and say customers value?
So at SBI General Insurance, I think we are extremely ROI focused.
Yeah.
And the reason we are ROI focused is, we want to be cost conscious and ensure that all the benefits of the cost are actually passed on to the customer in terms of affordable products, because we believe the more affordable the product that you can make it, the greater the penetration, especially in a lower kind of penetrated category like ours. So therefore, ROI, is at the heart of everything. So all our digital acquisition campaigns are fundamentally kind of measured from a ROI lens. They are measured as to not only how they do perform digitally, but also what would be the cost and the value of the customer that we kind of benefit from an offline method, right? So that is one part. The other 2-3 things, I think, as I mentioned, general insurance is a long-term product, and therefore what we want to do is once a customer comes in, we want to ensure that our renewal rates are as close to 100% as possible. One of the other things that we measure on our portfolio is our renewal rates for a customer. The third thing, like I mentioned, is in terms of the customer experience itself, and we take our net promoter score very, very seriously. We measure net promoter score on an absolute basis across customer acquisition, across our health insurance business, motor insurance, corporate insurance, renewals, customer service, all the various kind of aspects where the customer is kind of interacting with the customer. And we actually take the feedback that we get from the customer in terms of whatever are the pain points that they have, and then work closely with businesses to ensure that the process kind of gets re-engineered. So that's, I would say, the other part. Even in our kind of social media and kind of programs and so on, one of the metrics that we really, really strongly measure is the engagement rate. We don't just believe in kind of blindly spending media monies, but ensure that it actually has a high engagement rate, because that kind of speaks to how powerful kind of the message is. And we're doing some pilots with generative AI content to see whether that's actually helping move the needle across various segments. So broadly, I would say these are kind of some of the performance measures.
Okay. So Himanshu, just listening to Rathin, how do you basically help clients link technology investment to tangible business outcomes?
So, like Rathin mentioned, that every company has top 2 or 3 KPIs that they are going after, right? What we help brands to do is break down those KPIs into KPIs in the digital domain, right? Okay. For example, if you're talking about renewals, how many people started their renewal journey and were able to complete in the same session, right? Are they struggling over there? Then immediate intervention is required if they're struggling with the renewal journey, right? So when there is a contact us button on the top, it's basically they're not able to find something and they're trying to go to the call center communication option. So we try to analyze what were they trying to find on the website, what were they searching for, which pages did they go through, did they read any FAQs, and then they eventually clicked on the calling to the call center button, right? So the idea is, for us, understanding the top 2 or 3 KPIs that a brand has in mind, right? Apart from obviously increasing revenue, there are standard KPIs that are there, reducing calls to the call center, which leads to higher NPS eventually, right? So the idea is to understand their larger goals, and then digitally, what can we do to influence it, right? And translate that. For example, I'll give you a very nuanced example in this. Say brands spend a lot of money on media to bring traffic to their website, right? Now, we bring in interventions of personalization, of A/B testing after someone has come on the website. Now, what does this do, right? If I don't make that intervention and say my conversion rate is X%, right? It will stay at X%, and the only way for a brand to grow their business is to increase the spend and get more traffic, because my percentage of conversion is kind of arrived at a certain point depending on volume of traffic. Now, when we as an agency intervene, our intervention does not start with the media. Our intervention starts after the user has come on the brand's website. So we bring in personalization, whatever we know about the user, which device he has come from, which geography location he has come from, is he an existing customer, has he gone through a particular product in past. So we understand who they are, and then also sometimes we go with different creatives as A/B test, and what that does is that it gives you with the existing traffic an additional incremental conversion. Our technology and understanding of the tech allows brands to do more with what is already coming in, so that then the media spend is optimized to the fullest.
Sure. So now, as we look ahead, the brands that will thrive will be those that that combine technology and empathy as well. That's very important. Creating, say, relationship that go beyond transactions. That's like the key, which is very much required. So Rathin, looking ahead, how do you basically see customer engagement in in insurance evolving?
If you look at the general insurance category, as India becomes more prosperous, more and more people will feel the need to kind of protect what they have. It begins with health. 20, 30 years ago, all of us, grew up or lived in some kind of joint families, and there was a social infrastructure which kind of took care of people. Now everyone realizes the way health expenses are going up, that you need health insurance. Similarly, the way natural disasters are happening, you need motor insurance, you need property insurance. There are cases of flooding happening in cities, houses getting damaged. So I think one part is that as the economy progresses, as we kind of become, a stronger economy, more prosperous, the essential need of general insurance is going to, get realized for more and more people.
Yeah.
So I think that is one. What is important, I think, for brands is that they are able to connect with the customer, because that actually is the heart of marketing, right?
Sure.
And then use technology to essentially deliver as seamless, and as enjoyable a customer experience as possible. How can we use technology to give the right product at the right price point, delivered, with lowest amount of friction, and ensure that the customer's peace of mind, is kept supreme.
Sure. And Himanshu, looking to the future, what will, set the next generation of customer engagement apart? What are your thoughts on that?
So, like Rathin very rightly said, right? End of the day, a pleasant experience is always be at the center. Storytelling by a brand which makes a customer convinced that yes, this is the right kind of product for me, this is the right kind of brand for me. That will always remain at the center of anything, irrespective of technology, right? So,
Sure.
Technology has to be an enabler of that story. It cannot be that tech is there and then let's come up with a story, right? It will always be a tech is an enabler of executing that story. Given that in mind, from like when you use the say for future generation, that is too much to think about. But in terms of say next 5 to 10 years, if I think about agentic AI, I believe is going to completely disrupt of how consumers engage with a brand. The new browsers that are expected to come out, where you can configure a few things that, hey, find this information for me, and the agent will, gather all the information from different sources and collate all this, and, it'll reach a point where, okay, if this criteria matches, buy it for me, right? So you are going to be in a situation where as a brand, you have to deal with agents talking to you.
Yeah.
Agentic AI is talking to you, right? So how you are discovered as a brand, how you are researched as a brand is set for disruption in a big way in the next 3 to 5 years. For someone like me and Rathin, that's going to be our next battlefield, that how do we kind of conquer that. Overall thing still remains relevant, right? We need to tell our story, we need to make the customer experience reliable and all of that, right? But for the first time, I believe the tech disruption is forcing us to disrupt, forcing us to think on how are we going to make our move. Earlier, we would think that, this is what we want to do for customers, let's bring in tech, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, I believe this is a situation where a tech is potentially game changing in a way that we'll have to ensure that we live up to that change in human behavior.
Sure, and in fact, brace yourself for all the challenges which comes with agentic AIs, because that's also, very important.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rathin and Himanshu, for sharing your, insightful perspectives. It means a lot for taking our time for this conversation today. That's all for this episode. Stay tuned as we continue exploring how leaders are shaping the future of business through creativity, technology, and purpose.